Merlin Unchained. All right, I'm making really good progress here. And don't worry about the crash and burn video that it failed. And I'll show you why it failed. I understand why it failed. And it's just a simple mistake. PyATS, with their learn functions, are pretty well normalized across iOSs, NXOS, iOS, iOS XE. If you learn ARP or learn BGP, it's a uniform data set. The parsed show commands, they don't guarantee any, they don't make any such claims about that. So let's quickly take a look at why that just failed. And I have to open up a different repository real quick. This will just take a second here. So here's why it failed. It's on the screen right now. This file on the left is NXOS. You can see that the parent key is platform. And the iOS on the right, the parent key is version. Now, there's twice as many fields for iOS XE. And they don't have this hierarchy. Everything is just under version. Whereas platform has hardware, kernel, and software, different nested layers. So this is why when I tried to populate the iOS data into the database, it said, there's a problem, I'm missing the platform key. Does that make sense to everybody? The data is not normalized. It is going into a specific number of fields in the tuple in Python, and those tuple values have to match. So how did I deal with this? Well, let me show you how I dealt with it. One thing is, I didn't change anything in my views. So my templates stayed the same more or less. Not the templates, but the views, excuse me. So these views, I didn't change this at all. I still have an operating system archive view that I want that keys in on the operating system. The URL hasn't changed either. What I changed was the model. So I went into the model, and as you can see now, I've combined, so I believe it's here, everything to here. Everything I've highlighted is in NXOS, and then everything here is in iOS XE. And some fields like chassis and boot flash and device name is actually in both. Okay, so that's the model. Now, once I've created this in the database, it needs to be populated. How do I populate it properly and accordingly? Well, what I do is I key in on the device OS in the test bed. Right? So in our test bed, we know right up front whether or not it is NXOS or iOS XE. And that is what I'm keying in on inside of the Python now, the PyATS job. And if it's NXOS, so here's a good example. Boot flash, if it's NXOS, is under platform hardware boot flash. Well, if it's iOS XE, that boot flash comes from version system image. Now I do that for every variable along the way here. And if they don't exist, like CPU is just null. Now I don't think I need to put null in. I might be able to put empty quotes in. I'm just putting null in so it's very clear to the database that those fields don't apply to that operating system. All right, now how do I present it? Because they're different fields, right? So that's pretty easy. In the Jinja template, in the Django template, the Django templating language, DTL, I just say if version, now this version is the version from the JavaScript, not from the test bed. And I'm saying if it's NXOS, well then these are your headers and these are the data fields. Well else, right, these are your headers because it's iOS XE and these are your data fields. So let's turn on the server and I'll show you that this is all working, and it's pretty incredible. I have to go into the right folder here, hang on. And let me turn on the server. And let me visit the server. Let's just go to the admin page real quick. And let me show you the data that we have. So under show versions, we now have 2 different data sets. Pretty neat, right? And we can flush the database here with this drop down as well, which is pretty neat if we have a bad data set or something. And you can see all the null values for the fields that don't exist. Pretty cool. All right, so now let's use our actual website. So show version /2021. Oh, and it's rolled over. The day is rolled over. So if I capture a new config, my VPN is up. Right on. So what I can do is test this day function to see if it works. Cool. Okay, so here's the results for 2021. And I have the CSR and the N9K. So the nexus, and you can see that the top one has that many more fields. Right? Pretty cool, right? So now let's try to isolate just NXOS, right? There we go. It's just the nexus. Similarly, if I do iOS XE, it's just the iOS XE. Now let's filter down to the day. 2021/08/30. Is that right? Well, what's the date timestamp on here? Oh, 31? Okay, so, oh, boo. I only have results after midnight, so I'm going to have to wait a whole nother day. That's too bad. So if I make this 31, yeah, but I just 2:02. If I had done this 10 minutes earlier, I'd be able to test my date function. But anyway, as you can see now, we have the iOS XE isolated results, the NSOX isolated results, the results by year, by month, by day, all just through the URL here. Now, again, I probably should make an index page, a home page with hyperlinks to these other pages. So we have a little navigation page. But I'm just making incredible progress. Don't be, you know, like I said, the only guaranteed way to not make mistakes is to not to try anything new. That's an Albert Einstein quote, not to get too brainy for anybody, but I love that quote that, you know, if you don't want to make mistakes, then just don't ever try to do anything new. So the last video, yeah, slight mistake. Just a mental lapse that those JavaScript schemas are nothing like each other. So that's easy. We key in on the operating system, and then that breakpoint makes the decision to say, do I use this template or do you guys use this template? And then further down, it makes another breakpoint. Do I give them this view or this view? Or what inside of the view is a better way to look at it. It's always giving the same view, but the data inside them is referencing the operating system. So what is next? I have like 50 commands to do. I have the whole rest of the Merlin project to convert. I have new views. I have new front-end displays I need to think about. I think what I'm going to do is just try to take a deep breath and maybe convert 1 or 2 or 3 or 5. We'll see how fast I can go. Commands every day, right? I'm still busy. I still have a day job and everything. But I'm going to slowly try to convert them all in so that I can do, instead of just show version in the URL, I could do learn BGP, learn VLAN, learn VRF, show IP OSPF neighbor, show IP interface brief. Right in the browser, by year, by platform, boom, there's all the data. That's what I'm going to try to do. So let me pick another command. I think I'm going to try a learn function next. Maybe something simple like learn VLAN or learn VRF. And then I'll go from there. Thanks for sticking around, and this is really exciting. I'm just going to keep putting up these Django videos, and we can learn it together and develop together. All right, we'll see you soon. Stay safe.